If you are in a room where everybody in there has already accomplished the stuff that you want to accomplish, the impossible nature of it just floats away. It becomes much more reasonable that you are going to achieve something big if you are around a bunch of other people that are doing it. And the same thing's true. Like, look yourself in the face right now and ask yourself, are you really around the friends that you need to be to get to the place you want to get to? Are you having the conversations that necessitates? Are you pushing yourself? Are you getting pushed by other people's? Do you have an accountability group for the good things, not the bad things? Do your friends say to you,
hey, where were you on Friday night? Not, hey, what did you build this weekend?
The difference between those two conversations is the difference between the bank account you want and the one that you got. If you want to get rich, master negotiation. There is really one universal truth to getting money, and that is that you have to ask for it in a myriad of ways. You got to start asking for it in your salary and negotiate early on. You got to start asking for it by trying to get stuff at a discount instead of paying full price. You got to start asking for it by doing deals and investing in things and figuring out how to structure those, how to get what you want, how to negotiate for more time, how to negotiate for more responsibility. The undertone of money is negotiation. If you can figure out how to get people to give you what you want more often than you give away what someone else wants, you'll have a bigger bank account.
Need motivation?
Watch Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because I need them, because I want to wake up every single day and get pushed by somebody who's doing a lot more than me. And in watching their videos, it inspires me to be bolder, to have more courage, and to go chase down the life of my dreams. And I hope it does the same for you. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Codie Sanchez, and my take on her top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2 is learn how to manage a business.
There's 10 steps to buying a business. First step to buying a business is understanding that the opportunity is out there, and that it's possible to do with not a lot of cash if you want to, and that business could potentially replace your 9-to-5. Totally doable. Second is deal clarity, which means, hey, I know exactly what type of business would be good for me. I have asked myself, we have 25 questions we ask you, but I've asked myself these 25 questions. Third is origination. How do I find a business? Where are they located? Fourth is due diligence. This would be this section. So how do I know if this is a good business that really does what it says it does, where the owner actually only works 20 hours a week and it makes this much amount of money that they say it does, so I know what I'm getting myself into. Fourth is negotiating. How do I negotiate well with the seller in order to get what I want? Sixth is selling you. So how do I convince the seller that I am the person to take over their little baby that they've built their whole lives, or that they've spent their whole lives building? 7 is going to be financing. So how do I get the money to actually do this deal? 8 is closing. So how do I take this business with my attorney and my accountant and actually close the deal overall? 9 is the first 90 days, and then 10 is growth. And so if you think about buying a business that way, you have, I don't think you can just listen to a podcast like this, go out and buy a business. I don't think that's a good idea for anybody listening today. I think, in fact, you have 30 to 60, 90 days of learning. Like if you spent 20 to 30 minutes in, let's say, something like our course or reading a book or whatever you want to do, you could learn in 30 to 60, 90 days what your deal box is, how to do underwriting, what a good deal looks like for you, etc. And by the end of 30 to 90 days, you could move forward on executing a small business transaction. Now, do I think that you would be a pro at it? No, but I think you would have enough understanding to where you're not going to bankrupt yourself if you follow the steps. It's not easy, but it's simple.
Rule number 3 is stop being afraid.
The woman you are now,
yeah.
What would you say to that person who's a little scared, thinking, I shouldn't do this because I'm safe? And are you really safe? It was an illusion.
Always start sooner than you think. Do it before you're ready. You'll never feel ready. Sort of like, you know, that conversation people have with kids, like, you're never ready. I feel like people should say that same thing to people who want to become an entrepreneur. The difference maybe is...
Oh yeah, like the people who want to have kids. Like, you're never going to be ready.
You're never ready. Just have the kid. You're like, you're never ready. Just do the thing.
Yeah. Great point.
But I actually think I'm a little different. Like, we were talking about mutual friends we have. I have a couple mutual friends that are like, I slept on a couch. I lived on the floor. And I do not think you have to do that.
No, absolutely not.
I think that you could be a little scared and you could tiptoe your way into it. And so if I was talking to my 19-year-old self, I'd say, start tiptoeing sooner. You
Yeah,
don't have
that's
to take
really
a
great
big
point.
jump. Tiptoe.
Yeah.
Rule number 4 is have grit.
Entrepreneurship is 5% timing, 5% idea, 10% talent, and 80% not fucking stopping. I thought about this when somebody was asking me what are the keys to being successful, and I go back to the study by Angela Duckworth about the one thing that she found across decades of studying was those who were more successful had more grit than everybody else. And she determined that by ability to continuously confront pain and move through it. So how long could you handle pain? And that is actually what entrepreneurship is. My dad says at some point in the middle of the night, you will be sitting in the dark on your couch, head in your hands, wondering, what the f do I do next? And that's just the nature of the game. Can you handle those moments? A lot of people can't. They'd rather kind of coast through life with a low level of anxiety of not achieving the things that they want. But the truth about entrepreneurship and making money is it's just pain. How much pain can you tolerate? And none of it's gonna kill you if you just keep moving forward.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is be a good leader.
I'm not sure you deserve the right to be an owner if you can't have difficult conversations. And so I think a little bit of this is having a conversation with yourself and saying, am I the type of human who wants to lead people, who wants to be an owner, who wants to leave a mark on this world? And if so, there are a few things that I have to add to my tool belt through life. And one of them is that I have to release people when they are not a fit for my company and when I am not a fit for them. And the second that you realize that, one, it's always worse than you think it, or it's always better than you think it's going to be. Very seldom have I ever fired somebody where they've, one, been surprised, or two, it's gone badly. And that's because it's really important, to your point, about managing them out. And this stuff is kind of tactical, and people who don't lead teams or run businesses don't love talking about this actually at all. But it's really important that you have check-ins early and you get comfortable with friction. So I'm always telling my managers, like, stop giving compliments to people on your team that are underperforming just because it makes you feel better. Like, you have to have the tough conversation. How terrible would it be if you were learning to ride a bike and every time you fell over, your parents were just like, yeah, just keep doing that. It didn't work, but like, you should keep doing exactly that way, where you keep leaning all the way over to the left. They're never going to learn to ride the bike. And so as a good leader, you have to be able to say, hey man, like, your sales numbers are down. You're not making enough phone calls. Do you want me to listen in to what's going on there? And to actually give people feedback. And then people won't be surprised when something happens, because you will have been coaching them in and up or out for a period of time already.
Rule number 6 is find your operator.
All right, so what's an operator? It's the thing that allows me to own 26 businesses that are all cash flowing as I'm talking to you.
Tell me more.
It's the thing that allows Buffett to find time for that McDonald's every morning. It's also the thing that could allow you to save small business owners from closing their doors forever. You're the bridge to the future. So Warren Buffett realized this, wanted to be a billionaire. He realized he needed an operator. Enter Charlie Munger. Warren and Charlie both became billionaires through Warren finding the deals and Charlie operating them. Then Charlie hired a bunch of people just like him. And instead of doing what most bosses do, which is micromanage, he lived by this quote: when you buy a dog, you don't do the barking for it. Small words, really impactful. When you hire an operator, you don't do the operating for them. We help find you your operating bulldog. And it's probably not how you think. Let's find these people. We got a case study first. This is Miss Nevada Does Mail, I call it. All right, my friend Lisa scaled her mini mailbox business while running 3 other companies. Do you think she licks the stamps herself and slaps them on the boxes day in and day out? Not on those heels, she doesn't, because Lisa understands the upside of having operators that could manage her business while she's working. She hired cocktail waitresses off the Vegas Strip. Brilliant. look at these ladies. You don't get to be in the service industry for long if you aren't a quick learner and a natural hustler. Also, you age out. Also, if you do this, no one slaps your ass at the mail store. That one hiring decision to take waitresses and turn them into owners and operators has made her more than $250,000 a year.
Rule number 7 is use the SOWS method.
How do people buy businesses for $0 and make them hundreds of thousands of dollars? Well, this business was a 12-year-old website. And the strategy that I use to buy this business is one that I use again and again and again. That has 4 steps. I call it the 4 rules for business buying with $0 down. So the strategy is called SOWS. Well, SOWS. And there's 4 simple steps to it. Here's step number 1. Dale.
Laundromat business.
Car washes. What does this mean? This is a business that hasn't changed much. This is a business that uses fax machines. It uses hardline phones.
What's up?
A business that hasn't used technology and wouldn't even know what to do with 2 letters like AI. These businesses are all around. The business I bought is called Approachment. This business was in existence since the early 2000s, and the owner of this business was 65 years old. He hadn't changed a single thing on the website in 12 years. It was full of stock images that basically make you unsure what the business does overall.
Boring!
The business does 2 things. It pairs offshore talent that answer responses to businesses with technology that allows businesses to respond 24/7, almost immediately to any lead. As it turns out, if they don't respond, they don't get clients. So I bought this step 1 stale business, and I did it from an owner because he hadn't changed much over 12 years.
Hasn't changed a bit.
Step 2. Old.
The oldest restaurant.
The oldest winery.
Oldest company.
This was an old business. The owner of this business had been in multiple businesses for many years. He ran this company, Approachment. He ran a contracting company. He also had some construction company interests. The reason I like old businesses is because they have something called the Lindy effect, which basically means the longer something has been in existence, the more likely it is it will continue to be in existence. So this business has been around for 12 years, which actually means it's more reasonable that it'll be around for the next 12 years. A startup that's only been around for 6 months, probably not going to have a very good score based on the Lindy effect. Except most people think that because businesses are old, they're worthless. Well, that's where you're wrong, and you can buy a business at much of a discount because most people assume that it ain't very good and it's not going to go very far. Now, the company Approachment, I actually reached out to because I was a user of their services. I used their chat. I loved it. It increased my business's revenue a ton by never once missing a response to my customers. And so I asked him how's it going. I said to the owner, are you still interested in running this business? It seems like retirement is like on the horizon for you. What are you thinking? And he agreed. So I look for businesses that are old. If you are a startup, I'm a no. If you're a hope and dream and not profitable, I'm a no thank you. If you have proprietary in the word, no way. All right, step 3. Weak.
Competition.
Competition.
What does this mean? I want a business that doesn't have really good competition. I would never buy an AI business right now. Why? I'm competing with OpenAI and Google and Microsoft. Who knows who else with billions and billions and billions of dollars going after them. When I'm competing against my landscaping companies, my roofing companies, my car washes, my laundromats. Do you think any of the other competitors in the space are ones to be feared? The answer: no. You're looking for companies that don't even use text automation. You're looking for companies that have never focused on marketing or social media. Their competition is weak, and you are going to provide the antithesis to weak. You're going to build a real business on top of a boring business. Step 4. Simple. This is incredibly important and probably where people mess up the most. They hear words like biotechnology and they instantly think the business is worth more. They hear words like proprietary and they want to start investing. We want a stupid, simple business. And the reason why is because we want to be able to understand tiny little levers that we can use to change a business. That's why any of these 150 businesses I would invest in. Let me tell you a few that aren't so simple. Biotechnology, no. AI technology,
Probably not. Anything patent pending? I'm going to be a no. You want me to invest in the next hot startup or something with the word algorithm in it? Also, probably no. These are businesses that are so simple, like inserting a coin into a washer or dryer, having said washer or dryer run, and then finally taking the profit out of it. Boring businesses often equal billions.
Rule number 8 is speak the language of money.
If you speak the language of money, you usually make more of it. Man, this one is so true. There's a bunch of words they use in finance that take people from really, really rich to outside of the loop entirely. Most of us don't speak the language of finance, and I think that's on purpose. I think people in finance do not want you to know the secrets to wealth because that makes it easier for them to keep it. But there are so many terms: EBITDA, ROI, cash on cash return, expense ratio. The list goes on and on and on. Actually, there's a whole article here on it if you want it. But if you actually want to get real wealth, you have to learn the main terms. It's pretty easy to do, actually. You could take a couple courses on YouTube. But this was actually told to me by one of the wealthiest partners at Goldman Sachs. They came down in the beginning and did a little lunch and learn with us when I was at the firm. And we were asking a bunch of questions, and he was using jargon, EBITDA, for instance. And I remember one of the people in the room raised their hands and they said, "What does the term EBITDA mean? Can you explain that?" And he kind of looked at the person with like snooty Goldman air, as we did, and said, "I don't know how you got a job at this firm without speaking the language of money." That term exactly, the language of money. And he said, "You go find the answer to that. I'm not here to be your dictionary." And it was such a perfectly Goldman response, but actually he was right, so it always stuck with me. Learn the terms, then you can make the cash.
Rule number 9 is be with the right people.
When I was younger, I think I had a lot of stories about, why I needed my dad for a lot of things, for instance, in a positive way, like in an incredibly positive way. But that led me to bad partnerships. Like I knew that I had to redo partnerships and totally learn how to partner up with somebody. And I think a lot of people, this is one of the things that I obsess on with humans is, and you know this very well, but I obsess on humans choosing the right partners to go through life with from a business perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know about marriage and otherwise. I've done, well thus far, hopefully. But when it comes to businesses, I see so many humans partner with whoever's in front of them, not set the terms, not start with the end in mind, not write a prenup to their business. And what people don't realize, if you go to venture capitalists and you ask them what are some of their top 3 things why they would invest in a business or another, one of the very first things is they want co-founders. Why? That doesn't seem like a great idea to me. Most people get divorced because they make them set parameters for the divorce that could potentially happen. And they know that entrepreneurship is so hard, it's likely one of them will fail or want to be done, but the other one won't. And so if you think about that in every business venture that you do, you've partnered with a ton of people. You know, partnership is really, really powerful, but it's really hard. And so the past experience of me thinking that I needed my dad everywhere led me to partner with other men that I immediately thought were as great as he was. And then realized, oh, not everybody's my dad. I've got to be a little bit tighter. I've got to be a little bit more thoughtful in partnerships.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is get in the game.
Codie, do you have any final advice for someone who's listening who wants to get into the business of boring businesses?
Twofold. One, I think you guys did a really good job of not making it sound too simplistic and easy. You know, you too can buy a business with $0, spend 0 time on it, become a millionaire, have a Lambo and a yacht. Like, that's not what we're talking about here. And on the flip side of that, also assume that you as a human are much more capable than you're giving yourself credit for. And assume that you've met a lot of business owners. How smart did you think all of them were? Have you been impressed by every business owner that you've engaged with? The answer is no. I've met a bunch of the big time business owners. And I can tell you what, 10% of the time I'm blown away. And 90% of the time I think, I'm coming for you. And so for those listening, if it does sound like you are the type of human that wants to own a business, that wants to make the impact that I think is the most powerful impact any human can have, which is to build something, to employ others, and to create so other people can consume, I think there's no higher calling. And I think that buying businesses allows you to do it when you don't have that startup seed inside of you that you would die if you didn't build it, but instead just want to get in the game. And I think getting in the game is half the battle. And then you can figure out what game you want to play once you get there.
if you sit next to a high performer, so if you have your team sit next to a high performer, you will outperform by 15%. So a high performer just in your proximity will increase your performance by 15%. If you sit next to a low performer or underperformer, it will decrease your productivity by 30%. So every B player you bring on board is not just decreasing their productivity by 30%. It is that energy transfer, which is that everybody around them becomes a little bit less productive. And I think one of the reasons people want to be owners of companies is because they feel that. People want to stay at companies where there's a bunch of winners. That's why I liked Goldman. I was like, these guys are so smart. I'm learning so much. I want to keep going. When I was at Vanguard, I was like, oh my God, these schleps are just schlepping around the office, not doing anything. I'm not learning anything. And they're by, design sort of pulling you back and down. And so I keep that number on a notepad next to my computer for me to, one, not be the underperformer, and two, it's not just about getting rid of underperformers for you as a CEO. It's not good to do to your team. So, we've definitely have had them in varying companies of mine, but we push relentlessly to either make people better or help them find the thing that they can be an A performer at.
What's your purpose? What's the thing that's driving you to do all this stuff?
Yeah, a couple things. One time, I think it's really useful if you're wondering what your purpose is, if you're struggling with, am I doing the right thing day in and day out? I like to think about a tombstone and mine. And I remember one time I had a crazy dream. And in the dream, I basically walked in the cemetery as one does. And my tombstone came up in front of me. And at the time I was in private equity and it just said managing director, Codie Sanchez. And I was like, oh, gross. What? That's going to be the legacy? I'm like a managing director at a private equity firm? Kill me. And so I think sort of looking at your tombstone, and it doesn't have to be work related. It could be, father. That might be an incredible thing to have on your tombstone, right? And so that made me change my perspective. And now I hope the legacy is that we bring more humans into ownership. That's the second idea I'm playing around with, which is I think more humans need skin in the game in some way, shape, or form. It's the only way to feel like you have ownership in this world. You have something that you are striving for and building. And most people rent their apartments these days or their houses. Most people work at jobs where they don't have equity in it. Only 15% of humans actually own stocks, which would be equity in companies. By and large, we're becoming a nation or a world of renters when we started, over the last century, just finally becoming owners after years of serfdom. And so that is my mission, is I want more human beings to have their little plot of land, figuratively or physically, because I think that changes the way we look at the world. Then we start to become stewards of it. Then we start to become stewards of our country. You don't burn down the building that you own, right? You fix it, you renovate it, you build on it. So that's what I hope our mission is. I hope when I'm dead, I hope there's a bunch of people that would never have owned anything and now own something, and they get to pass that on to the next generation. Because otherwise, just the guys at the top own everything. I mean, 1 out of 4 houses last year got bought by 3 companies in the US. Single family houses. We don't even own our homes anymore. And so that I think needs to change.
What I really want people to do is learn the framework. So I want you to be able to buy your first business that either supplements your salary if you want to exit your company or supplements your expenses. And so I want to teach people, how do you buy a small business that can either replace what I'm making right now or that can replace my expenses so that I can continue to do the work if I want to at my job, but I never have to. I can have my fund that's funded from something else. And so that's the first step. And then what you'll quickly realize is once you buy a business, and the average person who goes through our program buys a business typically in 11 months, and that business is somewhere between $100,000 to $10 million in total revenue. And we screen people because not everybody should do this. And so we screen them to kind of make sure, are you sure you're ready for this? And what I found is what happens is you'll buy your first business. And then you'll spend anywhere from 90 days to a year and a half, kind of stabilizing that business, running through it. But then you're going to add different, what I call revenue lines, that could be income lines to an individual through your business. So you're going to say, all right, I bought a laundromat and now I want to increase the revenue of the laundromat. So I'm going to add vending machines. as another revenue line. And then because I see how that works, I'm going to add vending machines for soap. And then because I see how that works, I'm going to add a wash and fold service. And then I'm going to add a delivery service. And what you're basically doing is you're diversifying your revenue streams through one business. So there is a focus or a through line to your business, but you're being really smart in acquiring your new profit centers. And that's something I wish I learned earlier, because I always thought you had to grow organically. Like I've got to go and I've got to get this one customer or this one client. But what if instead you could acquire the clients and wrap them up inside of your business? And that's what I tend to do again and again. But the only caveat I would say there is that I do think you need to focus on skills early as opposed to income. So I have a model that says learn, earn, invest. Most people go, I want to invest. I want to invest and make money. But really what you have to do is first you have to, let's say you wanted to buy a boring business. You need to spend a minute learning about buying a boring business. 90 days, some people take a year, but let's say that 1 year trial period of really learning how to execute on deal making. And while you're doing that, I want you to earn money. And I want you to learn how to increase your earnings potential. So whether that's negotiating for a higher salary, or whether that's getting a better job with a better salary, or whether that's doing commissions. And after you've done those two things, then I want you to use that money and I want you to invest it in something or invest your time or expertise. And so that's kind of how I push people to start thinking about diversification of revenue lines.
So I'm a big calendar person. I really like having a deadline. When I started writing this book, my due date's in like 4 weeks or something like that. And it's not like I look at it frequently, but it's just out there. Yeah, it's just this thing that gets put into your psyche, and somehow you can work backwards so much easier from a date. So it sounds so silly, but most humans will say,
well, in 1 year or 3 years or 5 years?
I'm like, put it on your calendar, like whatever that actual timeline is, and then try to work backwards. And then for most goals, I believe in short-term goals, 100%. Maybe daily, weekly, monthly, annually. But 3 or 5 year goals, who knows? So like I might have a really big vision for 10 years or 20 years. But as I get closer, I might realize, oh God, actually, nope, that's not what I want. So allowing yourself that freedom to not want to be the hot, sexy, rich millionaire with Bentleys, and instead say, oh no, what I actually want to do is I want to talk about what I want to talk about, with whom I want to talk about, owning companies I want to, and having no master. That's what rich looks like for me. And if you had stuck with your original goals, that wouldn't have been the case.
Do you think it's necessary to take that pain early? Or if in an alternative or in an alternate universe, could you have enjoyed that process while also getting all the benefits from it?
That's a good question. Like, I think I did enjoy the process. I think I learned to love pain and struggle.
Okay.
And there were the only thing that was the hard for me is being really, really tired. I can see why that's a torture tactic, because there were days where you had to focus and I would be like, wah, 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 wah. You know, I'm like, I'm barely here right now. That was really tough. But actually the long hours working on an interesting problem set is not a problem. But I think it is and I was just thinking about this week. I had a tough week this week, stuff going on in the companies, lots of work, no sleeping. And I was writing about reminding myself, why do I keep doing this? I don't technically need to keep doing this. You probably don't technically need to keep doing this. So why? And the reason is because I think that the struggle is a bit of an honor. And I think if you want to know what the key to happiness is, it's struggle. If you want to know what the key to wealth is, it's struggle. If you want to know what the key to making a lot of money is, it's struggle. And the more that you can realize that iron actually does sharpen iron, and the more sort of difficult things you can champion and do, the more likely you are to have a successful life. I think it's a life hack. It's a secret that these days we don't want to hear. Now everybody wants, I want to do the least and make the most. I want to hire the least amount of people and have the biggest company. I'm a solo entrepreneur that will never employ anybody, that makes millions on the internet, and you can do it too without any work and 4 hours a week. Like, that's the thing that we've said we want. And then I think about it for a second. I stand back and I'm like, is that really what we want? Like, what happened to building empires? What happened to leaving legacies? What are you going to do in the other 52 hours of your week? And so I don't think you have to struggle forever, but I think periods of struggle make the periods of relaxation really poignant. And with one without the other is like a day without a night. Nobody wants to live in complete pleasure and happiness always because it diminishes. And so I do think you need it. One,
invest in you before you invest in assets. I buy boring businesses. I teach people how to buy boring businesses. The first thing I say to everybody is don't do any action for the next 90 days. Don't buy something. Don't invest in something. Your singular job is to spend at least an hour a day learning about investing. You will never, I can guarantee you will never regret spending the time learning what it means to make money either through investing or through earning. So that's the first thing. Don't make little investments. So the biggest mistake I see people make, and one of the people on my team did this. She was listening to a dude on the internet, who I'm actually friends with, funny enough. He was talking about day trading. And she spent $5,000 following his advice to day trade. I said, do you find yourself obsessed with this game of day trading or investing? Do you think that you are one of the best in the world at it? Are you getting really smart at the game of it? Or are you just attempting to speculate and get rich quick? Because that is the fastest way to lose your money. Yeah. So that's one. Two, it's the old adage that we all know to be true, which is, I think you should be the poorest and the dumbest in as many rooms as you possibly can. And I try to do that continuously. I'm trying to do it with fitness right now, actually, because I want a six-pack. So I want to see if the six, do they rub off? Are they contagious? I'm unsure. It does. Unsure. But somebody said to me something I really liked, which is you should be, if you want to achieve a goal, get in a friend group where your goal is their norm.
Yeah.
And that really flipped something for me, because when it's my goal to have a six-pack and eat healthy, but the people I'm hanging around all already have six-packs and eat healthy, their norm is what I want. Their goal will help me get to my goal way faster. Yeah. And so that's the second thing. It's just getting in the right rooms. And then probably the third is our motto. It's question everything you're told. Stuff by me, stuff by you. Your ability to hear an idea, even well or beautifully articulated, write it down and then go, do I agree with this? I'm not sure I do. What about second and third order effects of this situation? That critical thinking component will save people from poor investment decisions, and it'll save them from poor career decisions, and it will make them become a thinker as opposed to a follower.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video, because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Mel Robbins, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Confidence is the willingness to try. In research, there is something called the confidence competency loop. And what that means is that as you try something for the first time, like I was curling my hair this morning,